Hey everyone, I'm Laura Gadenik. I'm an astrologer and a therapist, and I'm here to give you the astrology for the weeks of August 18th through the 31st, 2025. Okay, so it's a pretty quiet week until Friday, the 22nd, when the sun heads into Virgo. Although I will say, at the beginning of the week, we're still probably riding the waves of Mercury having recently stationed direct, moving forwards. We're now putting into motion things that we have maybe been reflecting on or reviewing the last several weeks. We also, Mercury is still in an opposition with Pluto within 3 degrees. So there's still some maybe intense conversations you're having, or, and when I say intense conversations, I mean like maybe deeply honest conversations, things coming up from the surface that need to be said or that have been swept under the rug. There might be a sense that things are being addressed right now, or maybe Mercury is also in a sextile with Mars in Libra, which gives us really assertive quality to communication. So it's like not only are things that have not been addressed or that we might feel shame around or we haven't had the courage to talk about, not only are those things maybe coming up from underneath the surface, but we're having more courage and assertiveness in speaking about those things potentially. So that's still very much to the energy of the beginning of this week, which can be really useful, and it can be uncomfortable, right? So we're still in that energy, and Mercury is still moving through its shadow period, which is the period or the degrees where it retrograded. And so we are still integrating what we've been reflecting on and moving forwards with maybe plans that we started to create in the last couple weeks. So then Friday the 22nd, the sun heads into Virgo. We start Virgo season. So Virgo is mutable, meaning it's changeable. It's the end of a season. It's earthy. It's an earth sign, grounded, Mercury ruled. It's the end of summer. So we're kind of like maybe tying things up that we started at the beginning of summer. We're transitioning into a new phase of the season. And yeah, during Virgo season, you might notice just like feeling like leaning into a bit more of the practicalities of life, being a bit more detail oriented, getting things organized. Virgo season is always a great time to get organized and sift and sort through things that need sifting and sorting. So Virgo season will be here soon. On Saturday, the 23rd, we have a new moon in Virgo. So this is going to be at 0 degrees of Virgo. And it's going to be a new moon square Uranus. So, Virgo isn't usually, it is a mutable sign. Sometimes Virgo can be a bit messy or all over the place. As a Virgo myself, I can attest to that. But this new moon in Virgo is square Uranus, which gives it a kind of chaotic, maybe radical feeling. So new moons are usually times of planting seeds for new beginnings, for starting things. And we are going to be, thinking about new beginnings in the area of life where you have Virgo on the cusp of like whatever house that is for you in your chart. So new beginnings in that area of life. But with the square to Uranus, it's going to require some shifting, some maybe quick decisions, maybe doing a 180 turn around and making a quick pivot. That's usually a Uranus thing, is kind of forcing us to make quick pivots and make quick decisions. Because Uranus introduces an element of like things that we couldn't have planned for, spontaneity. So just expect it and accept it. And it's also, new moons are usually a time for quiet, being a little bit more reflective. The Uranus quality comes in and makes it a little bit more exciting. So that is the 23rd. The 24th, the sun makes that square to Uranus exactly So just watch out for the unexpected. You could maybe use the energy by doing something out of your routine. You might have some more creative ideas as well. On Monday, the 25th, Venus heads into Leo. And she immediately makes a trine with Saturn. And then the next day, on the 26th, she makes a sextile with Uranus, a trine with Neptune, and an opposition with Pluto. So that is a lot for Venus. This is a very Venusian week with Venus making lots of aspects. First of all, Venus in Leo is very expressive. Leo is a fire sign. It's a sign ruled by the sun, which really wants to be seen and admired and be in the spotlight. So a Venus in Leo is very bold and confident and wants to be the center of attention or wants to be adored. So it's a good time to practice that, practice being in the spotlight, allowing yourself to be adored or be lavished with attention, or do that for someone else. It's really fun. I promise you, it's quite lovely. So that is Venus and Leo, but then Venus making a trine to Saturn. Saturn creates structure and stability. Trines give off the more positive qualities of Saturn, which is usually, can be a planet that can be more challenging. So this can bring structure in relationships, help clarify boundaries. It can also bring a sense of having more discipline in an art form, and creating structure for yourself to like achieve something artistic. Venus's trine to Neptune can bring compassion and forgiveness in relationships, as well as a lot of creativity. This is a really great, Venus and Leo in those first couple days, really great for creativity. And, being a little bit more dreamy, maybe like relaxing a little bit more. Also, Venus and Neptune can be very romantic, maybe a good day to go on a date, have a bath, eat some chocolates. With that trine to Saturn, there is something around like discipline and structure as well. So it's kind of, I'm thinking like if you have like a creative project, it's like Neptune brings in the energy for vision and dreaming bigger, and then Saturn brings in the like, okay, how are we going to do this, right? The sextile to Uranus brings in innovation and not being afraid to try new things. And the opposition to Pluto brings if we're going with the kind of like creative project or art theme, Venus opposite Pluto brings things up from the surface that have been hiding. Once again, that's Pluto. And I think about, with Venus representing femininity, LGBTQ plus folks, like I think about like bringing up things around justice and power dynamics and, the power dynamics of like between men and women, or the lack of power that women have or that queer people have, and bringing attention to that, bringing that to the awareness of the general public. I just signed up for a money managing class for women by women, which I'm very excited about. And I learned that only 37% of investors are women and the rest are men. So it's just, men hold most of the wealth in the world. And it's like, okay, that feels like a Venus opposite Pluto thing. I mean, that's kind of widely known, but it's like, no one really talks about it. No one really talks about the wealth disparity between men and women and the fact that women aren't as free because they don't have as much money, and same probably goes for like, honestly, like all marginalized people, and queer people, which Venus very much so represents as well. So I think about Venus opposite Pluto as getting to the bottom of something with regards to Venus things and revealing it and not being afraid to reveal it, maybe through art, maybe through collaborations. Venus themes, once again, women, queer people, queer and trans people, but also things like relationships. This might be a day where you're getting to the bottom of something in a relationship and just like bringing it up to the surface and having the courage to talk about it. Kind of similar to, the Mercury opposite Pluto that we've been in with the sextile to Mars. Like, it's kind of like the pot is being stirred and it's time to address things. It's time to talk about things openly, talk about power dynamics, talk about who has power and who doesn't. So that's my 2 cents. Okay, Thursday the 28th, we have Neptune in Aries making a sextile to Uranus in Gemini. These are outer planets, so they're not the personal planets. You might not really even notice this as much. But essentially, the representations of these 2 planets, Neptune is like dreams, vision, longings. Uranus is innovations, revelations, revolutions, change. So thinking about innovations or changes to our dreams or visions, what might those be? How are those changing? On the 31st, we have Mercury and Leo making a trine to Chiron. Mercury representing the mind, communication. Chiron is the wound, the wounded healer, the thing that hurts or that's painful. Mercury trine Chiron can bring potentially healing conversations because trines are of the nature of Jupiter. They are healing and expansive. And while it can feel a little ouchy, right? Like we're revealing something that is kind of hurting, it's overall kind of positive to be able to talk about things. So feels like the next couple weeks is a lot of like things, like talking about things and being honest and not avoiding painful subjects and addressing things. That kind of feels like the energy of the next couple weeks. As always, I'm available for readings and consultations. So if you're curious about how this astrology is landing for you personally, it's different for each person, for each rising sign, depending on where your planets are. Like it's, this is a pretty general reading for everyone, but I can get way more specific. So please reach out if that interests you. Please like, subscribe, comment. I love hearing from you. I really am trying to get this tiny channel to grow. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, otherwise I will be back in a couple of weeks for another astrology update, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.